The vote passed with a cold finality. No cheering, no thunderous announcement. Just the hiss of 1,000 data nodes logging the moment into galactic record. Humanity, valid target. High Arbiter Threxel's son didn't blink as the declaration uploaded to the enforcement servers. His eyes flicked across the faces of his fellow delegates. Some nodded grimly. Others glanced away. A few squirmed in their seats, the cowardly sort who always hoped someone else would throw the first stone. No matter. The stone had already been launched. The ripples were coming. Threxel turned to his assistant, voice a whisper of silk on steel. Ensure the enforcement division begins their sweep immediately. Colonies first. Break them in spirit before body. On the other side of the galaxy, buried in the hull of a blackout facility orbiting a dying red star, Commander Elias Ram read the same declaration on a dusty terminal screen. He exhaled once. Slow. The room around him was dead quiet. 3 staffers watched, waiting for orders. One of them, a green tech named Lyra, broke the silence. Sir, the council voted. We're now. Legal game, Ram said calmly. Congratulations to them. They just signed up for consequences. He stood, walked toward the central holodable, and tapped a finger on its surface. A series of encrypted protocols blinked awake. Black Directive Echo. Unauthorized activation. Clearance required. Ram placed his palm on the reader. The system hesitated. Then accepted. The lights dimmed. A crimson halo surrounded the room. A voice spoke, metallic and unfeeling. Black Directive Echo activated. Target, Jaterii High Council. Objective, operational destabilization, psychological compromise, regime dismantlement. Lyra stared. Sir, that's not approved? Legal? Diplomatic? Ram's voice sharpened. Neither was this declaration. They've reclassified us as a threat. That means we are one. He looked around the room, and his voice dropped to something colder. No more warnings. No more complaints filed through diplomatic channels. We respond like they fear we would, fast, silent, and absolute. The first message came 12 hours later. A Jaterii patrol vessel orbiting a neutral moon lost all contact. No explosions. No survivors. No wreckage. Just vanished. Threxel viewed the playback with clenched mandibles. He replayed the last 10 seconds on loop, trying to spot something. Anything. There was none. I want analysis, he hissed to his security lead. There's nothing to analyze, came the reply. It's like they were erased mid-transmission. Then find the shadow that cast it. Ram's strike team moved without signatures. No FTL trails. No comms. Only whispers in dark corners of space, only trails of broken systems, corrupted AI, shattered morale. He didn't want Earth to appear powerful. He wanted them to appear inevitable. Each action was precision calibrated to avoid attribution while spreading terror. A supply convoy rerouted into a dead star. A biological archive replaced with a recording of a human child reciting a lullaby in reverse. Delegates in the council began losing sleep. Some claimed to hear breathing in their quarters. Some were found staring at blank screens for hours, whispering apologies to no one. Ram watched their descent from afar, impassive. They fear death, he said. But they don't understand us. We're not here to die nobly or fight fair. We're here to finish what they started. Threxel addressed the council 2 weeks into the campaign. He stood taller now, not out of confidence, but desperation. The humans have overstepped, he declared. What we face is not a rogue nation but a contagion of defiance. Their behavior justifies total eradication. A few murmurs of agreement. But more hesitation. Delegate Vron, representing the Solari Pact, stood slowly. High Arbiter, where is the proof? You push for annihilation without declaration. We demanded compliance, not extinction. Threxel's voice cracked. They are non-compliant by nature. Look at what they've done. A large screen displayed a transmission hijack. A human figure, Ram, stood in dim lighting. No uniform. No weapon. Just a face and a voice that didn't blink. You called us lawless. Now you've made it law. You declared us valid targets. You legitimized our response. Every move we make now is sanctioned by you. The council chamber fell silent. Even Threxel couldn't speak. This isn't retaliation, Rom continued. This is reciprocation. You opened the door. We just stepped through. Back in the Terran outpost, Rom stood over a silent terminal. He stared at a countdown. One more move. The next piece. Status of the courier package? En route. His aide confirmed. Excellent, Rom muttered. Let's see how High Arbiter Threxel reacts to diplomacy with Bones. When the package arrived, Threxel demanded the chamber be cleared. He opened it alone, expecting a threat. He got something worse. A human femur. Burnt. Clean. Labeled. Remains, Diplomatic Envoy number 003. Returned to sender. Threxel froze. For a long time, he didn't breathe. He stood in front of the bones, trying to decide whether it was real or a bluff. Eventually, he realized it didn't matter. The message landed all the same. There would be no peace. Rom sat in silence as reports filtered in. Increased paranoia. Council members requesting security reassignment. Civil unrest in council-aligned colonies. Threat assessments that could never find a source. It wasn't about damage. It was about pressure. Constant, invisible, untraceable pressure. Sir? His aide asked softly. How far are we taking this? Rom looked up. His voice was quiet. Until they understand, he said. Not just that we're dangerous, but that we are what happens when you mistake mercy for weakness. Then he smiled faintly. Not cruel. Not triumphant. Just certain. The convoy drifted into the gravity well without resistance. No warnings, no shields, no alarms. The lead cruiser spun once as its guidance system scrambled, then vanished into the hungry swirl of the red dwarf's corona. The rest followed, one by one, like pieces of a puzzle designed to be lost. No debris. No transmissions. Just silence. The attack wasn't acknowledged. No group claimed it. No one needed to. Everyone knew. Rom had started writing his reply. The Council's internal networks flared with quiet panic. Fleet logs were purged and recompiled. Delegates whispered about Terran infiltration. But the official statement from High Arbiter Threxel remained unchanged. Isolated navigational error. Investigation ongoing. Behind closed doors, Threxel wasn't so composed. They're mocking us, he snapped, pacing. Sabotage disguised as coincidence. Assassinations masquerading as accidents. We're being outplayed by a species with fewer colonies than some of our farms. His second-in-command hesitated. High Arbiter, if I may, perhaps we should reconsider escalation. Threxel froze. Turned. Reconsider? They've murdered our personnel, compromised our systems, and dared to broadcast threats into this very chamber. You want restraint? It's not restraint, the aide muttered. It's survival. Threxel waved him away. A second wave hit harder. Systems-wide communications went dark across the Glavian Reach. Civilian traffic rerouted endlessly between phantom beacons. Refugee vessels looped until their fuel starved. Council aid fleets arrived to find nothing but drifting wrecks and frozen hulls. One carried a message etched into its inner walls, traced in carbon scoring. You called us predators. You were right. On Earth, Rom read the reports without reaction. They'll scream sabotage, Lyra said beside him. Blame anything but themselves. Let them, Rom replied. Their words lost weight the second they declared us legal prey. We're just speaking the only language they left open. News leaked faster than the Council could suppress it. Holofeeds buzzed with rumors, human ghost fleets, cloak strikes, a weaponized AI god. Whole systems refused to relay Council transmissions, afraid of inviting human attention. Then, the defection happened. The Heroine Assembly, a fringe species known more for diplomacy than warfare, cut ties with the HFY Council in exchange for Terran technology. They cited ethical divergence. Quietly, they handed over centuries of internal data and fleet movements. Ram accepted the alliance with a simple gesture. See? We're not the monsters they say we are. We just negotiate with different tools. Threxel convened an emergency session, voice raw, posture stiff with rage. They are tearing apart the fabric of our unity. We must act decisively before more splinter. Delegate Marvan of the Curios sector raised a hand. With what proof? The last fleet vanished without a single sensor ping. Perhaps the Terrans are not to blame. They are to blame. Threxel shouted, slamming a fist. They think they can rewrite the law with fear. We must respond with clarity. The room shifted. A low hum echoed through the chamber. The main screen activated, unbidden. Commander Elias Ram's face appeared again, alive, calm, and aggravatingly composed. Clarity, he repeated, eyes scanning the council chamber through the feed. You want clarity? Let me offer some. He leaned forward. You thought you could isolate Earth. Sanction us. Undermine us. You mistook our silence for passivity. But here's the truth, we were never afraid. We were preparing. His voice dropped an octave. You wanted rules. Then you broke them. Now you don't know which ones are left. That's not war. That's entropy. Threxel lunged for the console, but the feed wouldn't cut. Ram's final words before vanishing again. This isn't escalation. It's reciprocation. Don't confuse the difference. One means we're coming. The other means we're already here. Across the stars, fear turned to awe. Then to questions. Who were the humans really? Warriors? Tricksters? Ghosts? Alien children whispered stories about ships that blinked between stars like predators in the dark. Parents told them to behave, or Earth would hear. Superstition wrapped itself around Terran myths faster than data could disprove them. Council ambassadors filed reports daily. Rising resistance, colony unrest, rogue military units refusing council orders. Ram didn't need to send fleets. He turned faith into a weapon. Back at the outpost, his aide frowned at a transmission. Sir, we intercepted a council broadcast. They're accusing Earth of war crimes, targeted biological warfare. Ram raised a brow. Biological? They claim the Glavian drift plague was of human design. Ram snorted. The Glavian drift plague's been dormant for 4 centuries. Let them scream lies, the louder they shout, the less they're believed. He tapped a screen. Send them the cure. Publicly. Lyra blinked. Wait. Help them? Of course. Mercy's more terrifying than malice. Especially when it's genuine. He leaned back in his chair, voice a whisper. Nothing's more unsettling than an enemy who kills efficiently, then saves your people without flinching. Threxel's nerves frayed further. His staff began resigning. His quarters were scanned daily for intrusions. One night, he found a Terran artifact placed neatly on his bed, a single page from Sun Tzu's The Art of War, printed on human paper. No fingerprints. No logs. No breach. He didn't sleep that night. The next morning, his private shuttle refused to start. Engine failure. Redundant systems compromised. He stared at the error screen until the words seemed to breathe. We could have killed you. The council split in whispers. Some argued for open negotiations. Others suggested retreat. Threxel demanded silence. They want us divided, he insisted. That's how they win. But the truth had taken root. Delegates began meeting without him. Whole sectors stopped returning calls. A galaxy doesn't need orders to rebel, just a reason. And Earth had given them one. Ram stared out the viewport of his command deck, the stars motionless in their silent vigil. They still think they're fighting a war, he murmured. They don't see we already moved on. Moved on to what? Lyra asked. To rewriting the hierarchy. He turned to her, calm as ever. They made us legal targets. We're just showing them how law really works. And with that, he issued his next order. Activate Gorgon's Kiss. Let's finish the invitation. A beat. And ready my transmission. I think it's time I paid the Council another visit. Sector 9 lit up like a battlefield before the first shot was fired. Over 200 Council warships, carriers, cruisers, drones, and planet killers, broke formation from 5 sectors and converged toward the eclipsing nebula. The order bore Threxel's seal. No debate. No vote. Just a directive labeled Neutralization Protocol Alpha, Earth Origin Interdiction. This is where it ends, Threxel declared before the Council chamber, his voice brittle with the weight of desperation. We bring overwhelming force. We erase their presence from the nebula. No speeches. No warnings. They learn fear through consequence. He didn't wait for a response. He didn't want one. Most delegates remained silent, not out of agreement, but exhaustion. Every day under Earth's shadow added weight to their spines. Some no longer believed Earth could be defeated. Some wondered if they should even try. Deep within the eclipsing nebula, the Terran outpost flickered beneath clouds of ionized gas and magnetic fog. It had no weapon systems. It broadcast no signal. A tiny, unarmed relay hub orbiting an unstable moon. At least, that's what the Council's scouts had reported. Commander Ram sat before a console glowing soft blue. On screen, tactical logs, decoy drone readouts, enemy fleet movements. All green. All expected. Operation Gorgon's Kiss is armed. Lyra confirmed, eyes flicking nervously across her terminal. Trigger lines synced across 3 layers of interference. They won't see a thing until they're gone. Ram didn't respond. He just stared at the display. Watching. They really came. Lyra added, her voice quieter. All of them. He nodded once. Good. Let's not waste the invitation. Threxel's fleet breached the outer edge of the nebula with textbook precision. It was surgical. Controlled. Every ship aligned according to fire vector assignments. The entire armada drifted into position without error. Still no response from the Terran outpost. The fleet admiral reported. Their relay station appears unmanned. Of course it does, Threxel snapped. Earth never fights by the book. They bait you with silence, then ambush you with nightmares. But this time we're louder. He leaned forward. Open fire. Beams lashed across the void. The station crumbled in seconds, glass, alloy, data fragments vaporized into starlight. Debris scattered harmlessly. There was no retaliation. No hidden fleet. No return volley. It was too easy. Threxel didn't celebrate. Something itched beneath his skin. Scan again. I want residual heat signatures, mass traces, anything. Sir, we're detecting an energy swell. Low frequency. Non-kinetic. It's... The screen went white. And then black. Across the void, in an observation chamber buried beneath a Terran deep space relay, Ram stood over the detonation logs. Over 100 nodes blinking in sequence. Controlled. Silent. Final. Phase 3 complete, Lyra whispered. Survivors? None. Wreckage? Minimal. Ram's voice dropped. Then they won't even know how it happened. He turned from the screen. Send the playback. The Jatarii High Council received no distress signals. No automated black box records. Just a single encrypted file delivered anonymously to their central terminal. The file opened without permission. It displayed a starfield. Then static. Then silence. For 30 long seconds, nothing. Then Ram's voice. You sent your best. You sent your many. You sent your legacy. All gone. No last words. No heroic failures. Just erased. The video ended with a line of text. Next time, vote harder. The council chamber fractured. Delegates shouted over each other. Some called for immediate surrender. Others demanded an inquest into Threxel's authority. A few simply walked out, robes dragging across the floor like resignations in motion. Threxel stood alone, unmoving. Where are our fleets? Someone screamed. Where are our sons? Our daughters? Our defenses? They weren't ready, Threxel muttered. I told them. I told them what Earth was. You told us to crush them, Marvan shouted. You promised swift victory. I did, Threxel said slowly. Because I was afraid. He looked up then, truly looked, and for the first time, there was no certainty in his eyes. Just understanding. They never wanted a war, he said. They wanted a demonstration. Ram's second broadcast arrived uninvited, as always. He didn't bother with visuals this time. Just his voice, steady, unwavering. You misread us. You thought we needed armies to make a point. But fear isn't built on numbers. It's built on the absence of hope. We showed you what that looks like. He paused. We don't demand surrender. We don't want tribute. We just want you to stop pretending you're the apex of this galaxy. You're not. Not anymore. The message landed harder than any bomb. Entire sectors broke away from Council control within hours. Long restrained factions declared independence. Trading posts once flying Jatarii colors painted over their hulls with neutral grays and banners marked with crude Terran glyphs. One system offered Rom honorary citizenship. Another renamed its capital Unity Prime, a quiet nod to Earth's ability to terrify and unify in the same breath. Rom declined all titles. He didn't want to rule. He wanted them to remember. Back in the Council, Threxel stood before a tribunal. No charges read. No gavel struck. Just an unspoken verdict written in eyes too tired to pretend anymore. I did what I thought was right, he said. No, the chief delegate replied. You did what you thought was final. You still think there's hope? Threxel asked. The delegate didn't answer. He didn't have to. In the Terran command room, Lyra approached Ram, a quiet tension in her shoulders. What now? Ram leaned on the console, eyes distant. Now we let them sit with it. Let the galaxy stew in what it just witnessed. And after that? Then we show up. One ship. One diplomat. We don't demand. We don't ask. We offer. Lyra frowned. After everything, they'll still negotiate with us? He met her eyes. They'll crawl to the table. Because they've seen the alternative. Ram walked alone into the debriefing chamber, the lights low, walls humming with energy. He left a single datapad on the table. On it, coordinates. A time. A phrase written in bold Terran standard. Let's talk. No signatures. No threats. Just an invitation. And that was what made it terrifying. The council chamber was silent when he entered. Not in protest, just in fear. Commander Elias Ram didn't walk with guards. He didn't wear armor, or medals, or even a rank. Just a black coat, scuffed boots, and a calm expression no one could read. The weight he carried wasn't visible. It had already crushed half their fleets, rewritten the rules of war, and ended careers that once seemed untouchable. No one stopped him. No one dared. He stepped onto the central floor, the same platform where Earth had been named a valid target just weeks ago. The same floor where Threxel had spoken so confidently of compliance, of swift victories and surgical force. Ram stood there now with no fanfare. Just finality. I won't take long, he said, voice even. You've lost enough time already. A few delegates shifted in their seats. One muttered something, but it never left their translator. Ram looked around the room as if inspecting a failed structure. You called us unstable. Dangerous. Unfit for diplomacy. You were right about one of those things. He let the silence hang. You thought this chamber was sacred. That your rules were absolute. You forgot that systems built on fear collapse when someone else becomes more terrifying. No rebuttal. No interruptions. He had the floor, and they all knew it. High Arbiter Threxel, stripped of his insignia and authority, sat at the edge of the hall. Not even in the center ring. Not even important anymore. He stood anyway. You think you've won, Threxel said quietly. But all you've done is teach the galaxy to fear you. Rom turned to him, calm. We didn't teach them fear. You did. We just showed them its source wasn't invincible. You've unmade order. Good, Rom replied. It wasn't working. A few gasps. A few nods. He stepped forward once. We're not here to conquer. Earth doesn't want your throne. We don't need your laws. What we want is simple, the freedom to exist without permission. Threxel scoffed. You'll never be trusted. Not after this. We don't need trust, Rom said. We only need memory. A flick of his wrist. A small holoprojector blinked to life. It showed a series of star systems, each marked with council emblems crossed out. Beneath them, projections of economic collapse, rising rebel factions, planetary secessions. This is what your vote did, Rom said. You didn't just authorize war. You authorized evolution. You gave the galaxy a choice. He tapped the last projection, Earth's icon, centered, stable, ringed with new allies. And they're choosing. The lights dimmed. You're not here to surrender, one delegate finally said. Then what do you want? An agreement, Rom replied. No sanctions. No oversight. Earth will remain independent. Any council interference will be interpreted as a hostile act. That includes embargoes, intelligence probes, and covert sabotage. One breach equals one response. You know what our responses look like. And if we vote against this? Another delegate asked. Rom smiled, just a little. Then you better hope your fleets respawn faster than your votes. He stepped away from the projector, voice low. But if you vote yes, then maybe, just maybe, we'll forget your first mistake. They didn't argue. They didn't protest. One by one, delegates submitted their votes. The terminal glowed green. No abstentions. No dissent. A unanimous pass. Rom didn't gloat. He just nodded once, then turned. You'll hear from us when necessary, he said on his way out. But if you hear from us when it's not, run. In the days that followed, council embassies removed Earth from their at-risk lists. Neutral systems adopted Terran diplomatic standards. Even the fringe powers, the ones that mocked Earth's ascent, fell quiet. An independent network of species formed around Earth's periphery. Not a coalition. Not an empire. Something looser, more dangerous. A precedent. They called it the human equation. Aggression plus justification equals erasure. Textbooks across the galaxy rewrote sections on first contact. Military academies held seminars not on Terran warfare, but on Terran psychology. Some debated whether Rom was a military leader or a myth-given voice. All agreed on one thing: Earth wasn't to be provoked again. Rom didn't return to Earth. He vanished after the treaty was secured, leaving only a short message encrypted into the Terran diplomatic archive. If diplomacy means waiting to be struck first, it's just another word for surrender. We didn't win because we were strong. We won because we refused to play their game on their terms. And at the very end. Next time, knock. Across a dozen sectors, children grew up hearing stories of the man who silenced the galactic empire with his voice and vanished without medals, without parades. They called him the Quiet Knife. Others just called him Rom. To Earth, he was a shield. To the Council, a lesson. To history, a shift. Because the Council didn't lose a war. It lost the illusion of control. It realized too late that its greatest mistake wasn't attacking Earth. It was thinking Earth wouldn't respond.